The world in my hands cause I took it off your shoulders. Money on my feet, you know I got.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the W Podcast. This podcast is designed for everyone, whether you've attended a course or not. We are going to provide you with some interesting content to listen to and help you practice your English listening skills. The topics would be about personal experiences overseas or using English for work or study abroad and general life experiences overseas. We'll also dive into fun and random topics like memes, trends, pop culture, and anything else worth sharing. I'm your host, Anuka, and today, joining me here is Temka, CEO and founder of Winners Course. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
No problem.
Okay, so how excited are you on a scale of 1 to 10?
8.
8. Okay. So we're going to talk about the topic today, general, is going to be about, going overseas to study and work. People are graduating high school lately. It's almost July, and students usually go abroad to study. So what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, if they have the opportunity to go abroad, then go for it.
Yeah. What's about your case? So what did you do going abroad when you graduated?
As soon as I graduated university, I worked abroad. I worked in Hong Kong for 2 years, and I worked in Turkey for like 3 months, and Poland 1 month. Yeah. But I studied in Mongolia. I graduated the National University of Mongolia. Yeah.
Okay, that's a rich travel history. So what would you say, okay, for example, Poland. You say you were in Poland for 1 month. What were your expectations about Poland or just going abroad in general?
My expectations. I expected Poland to be a really shit country. I can curse, right? It's fine. Is it?
We try not to.
Try not? Okay. It's a really crap country. But as soon as I got there, I realized it was really, really beautiful. They had the European architecture, and also I had the opportunity to travel to other countries in Europe. So that was pretty fun. Didn't really have much of an expectation in terms of like what I will learn or, whatever. I just thought, it's a new opportunity. I don't know what I need to expect. Let me just get there. And yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah. So, the first time you ever went abroad, when was it?
I was actually born in Australia. But I only spent like 3 months there.
Okay.
But probably when I was a kid, like 11, 10 years old, I went to China eating, and my dad did some shopping. So that was my first experience.
Okay. So you said you had like almost not that many expectations regarding going abroad. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, like going abroad alone.
Yeah, going abroad alone. So what would you say, like, some of the experiences that you had that were like super valuable?
In Poland?
Yeah, in general. In general.
Okay. Some experiences I had that were very valuable. I think if you have ever studied at Winners Course, or if you work at Winners Course, you can see what I learned, basically. Everything that I do here, everything I implement, every single operation we have, or every, whatever is in our product that we provide to our students is actually from what I learned from working abroad, all those places. Because, I was in education. I worked as a teacher for 2 years, in Hong Kong, and then I was a teacher again in Turkey. And everything I learned, I just sort of incorporated into the company. Yeah. So, if you don't know, then come over.
Find out.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you said that you had almost no expectations being alone. Well, being alone for me, I went to study abroad as well after I graduated high school. For me, being alone was probably the hardest part. It was like, oh, this is me on my own.
Right.
And I think stepping into life for many students as well is scary like that. So what would you say about that? Like, why was it not scary for you, or was it scary for you?
So this topic is kind of a sensitive topic for me now, because now I'm like, why did I talk about this so much to people all the time before? But the first time I was in Poland, I did get depressed. And then when I went to Hong Kong, I got depressed again. And then I went to Hong Kong again and I got depressed again. Then I went to Turkey and I got depressed again.
That's an awful cycle.
So I don't think I like being alone. And it's not about friends because I did have plenty of friends when I was there. I think it's just, I don't know, something, right? For me, definitely the most difficult thing about being abroad was being alone. But I know that other people don't have the same experience because, you know, they're self-sufficient and I'm not. So that's what I have to say. I got depressed a lot.
So what would your advice be for someone who's just like, how did you get through this? Because right now I'm experiencing this and I don't think I can get through this. This is hard.
Usually it's a change of environment that is a quick fix. And generally what happens is when I know a lot of people who were abroad and just decided to come back because they just couldn't handle it anymore. And they got super depressed and they felt like, you know, being back in your home country would sort of solve all these problems. But the thing is, when you go back again, you will face it again. So, you know, what's the problem there? I think it's more important to deal with the situation rather than run away from it. So when you're abroad, you know, being alone, being depressed and all that stuff, you got to figure it out. And for me, I think I kind of did because it's more problems that you have since maybe you were a kid or other problems that, you know, people might not discuss that much. And it's important to identify what those problems are, go abroad and then, you know, test it out. If it's right, if it's not, come back, you know, start over. That's also something you could do because when you're in that depressive state, it's really difficult to get out of it, especially since your environment is sort of pushing you down back into that hole. I mean, there's never, you know, one thing that could fix depression
your whole problem,
because everyone has different forms of depression. Everyone has different reasons for being depressed. But yeah, I mean, you know what? Let's not talk too much about this topic because
dive too deep.
I feel like there's definitely more interesting things to talk about traveling and studying or working abroad.
Yeah.
Than depression.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So, you know, what did you do while having fun? I mean, you worked, obviously, but how was your way of, you know, setting free sometimes, getting loose?
Oh, yeah, just doing, just partying a lot.
Partying a lot.
Yeah.
Was the culture like different from here?
Yeah, definitely. Like, the thing is, before I went to Hong Kong, so I went when I was 20, I think, and between, you know, freshman year of university up to senior year, I used to go clubbing quite a bit. And whenever I did, there was always some kind of fight. Either I was involved or my friends were involved or random people next to me were involved or people wanted to incite or insinuate. And I didn't enjoy it. It was really, really annoying. People just wanting to fight all the time. But as soon as I went to Hong Kong and I partied for the first time, I kind of went with that attitude, and I can't say that I didn't, that I wasn't being a little bit aggressive. But at the same time, I realized, oh, you know what, this is exactly what partying is like. And this is how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. And it's not supposed to be people just, you know, murtlicking you all the time, bumping into you and being like, hey, watch where you're going. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to curse, but
it's okay.
It's hard not to be like, what is your problem? Why can't you watch where you're going? You know, and then everything starts.
It's kind of,
But it's easier in Hong Kong. That's what I noticed. And because it was easier, it was just so much more fun. And that's usually how I spent my time, just socializing, because I was very, very introverted back then, extroverted back then. And it was, you know, it was not that hard to make friends because everyone's abroad. Everyone's in Hong Kong. Everyone is alone, you know, and everyone wants to make friends to have fun with.
Yeah.
So it was just, you know, everything sort of clicked.
Okay.
What about you? How did you have fun in Korea?
Oh, yeah. Almost the same for me, too. It was fun. But, yeah, I went sightseeing a lot, probably. Korea's, you know, known for their food. So I ate a lot. And I had the best time with making new friends. I had a lot of French friends, actually. Which is kind of fun fact. Yeah, meeting French girls in Korea. Crazy.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, yeah. baguette. Do you know how to say that?
Baguette?
Baguette, yeah.
All right.
Okay, so you were saying that you were an extrovert back then. So
Yeah.
would you say that you're an introvert now?
I'd say I'm more introverted now, but I think it also depends on the environment because every time I travel, it's a little different.
So
And being extroverted in Mongolia for me, it kind of doesn't make sense. Like, who do I need to meet? I have all my friends here. I have all my family here. I don't really need to I don't need to go out of my way to meet new people. I'm very comfortable, you know. I guess being extroverted comes out of wanting that comfort.
yeah.
Yeah, could
Probably,
be. I'm not
yeah.
really sure.
So traveling makes you more extroverted because you're trying to go out of your comfort zone. That's what I
Well-
get. Is that it?
Trying to produce a comfort zone in that new environment would be probably a better way to describe it.
Phrase it? All right. Yeah, for me too. I think I was I'm always pretty extroverted, but I think in Korea, I think I was the most extroverted I ever was. And it definitely helps a lot while traveling. It definitely helps to just kind of chill and talk and not really build that wall around yourself.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
it definitely helps with a lot of problems. So, jumping into another topic, you work in education. You're a teacher. You worked as a teacher a lot. What would you say just the education system is in Hong Kong?
Oh, it's very, very
say.
stressful.
Stressful.
I realize that Hong Kong university students are just stressed all the
All the time.
And sorry. The thing is, Mongolians, I feel like back then, this is what I realized. I thought, oh, these people have literally no dreams. Because I would ask them, I'd be like, do you have any dreams? And they'd say yes. And I'd be like, okay, what is your dream? What do you want to achieve? Like what's down the line for you? And then they'd say, I want an apartment and I want a job. And that's literally what every single student that I taught said.
They want a stable life,
Yes.
basically.
But in Mongolia, if you ask people, they'd be like, oh, I want to start a business. I want to travel. I want to study abroad. I want to, make a lot of money. I want to do this and that. But I feel like all these Hong Kong students are they're victim to their environment, basically. Because Hong Kong, literally, there's a statistic to this, is the most expensive country to live in terms of like apartments, housing. Their housing market is the most expensive in the entire world. And so people basically slave away their entire life just to buy an apartment. And then, so I have two friends. They're both Hong Kongers. And they were together for like 15 years. And then that's when they married. And I was like, so why are you guys marrying so late? And they're like, oh, because we don't have the money for a wedding. And I was like, okay. And then they got married, and then they waited like 4 or 5 more years just to have a baby. And I was like, why'd you wait so long? And they're like, because we can't afford an apartment, and we want to afford an apartment before you have the baby. So they were basically like 36, 37 years old before they decided to have a kid. 32 before they decided to get married, even though they were together since they were like, I don't know, 15, 16 years old. So that kind of life really does not exist in Mongolia. No one is going to wait until they're 36 to have a kid. And okay, well, maybe some people, all right. But it's a ratio thing, right?
Yeah.
One person in Mongolia would do that compared to like 10,000 people in Hong Kong doing that, kind of.
So you would say that education, it's because of the price probably, right? That just the whole system, the country system is too expensive. That's what I'm guessing?
Yeah. It's really, really expensive. And that's why everyone just needs to, it's people's goals to just work, get an education, try to go abroad. If you can't, get a corporate job. Because Hong Kong is basically the financial capital next to Singapore of Asia.
Yeah.
So everyone goes corporate and then they get a job. They try to, rise up the ranks. They get an apartment and then they die at the age of like 90. And, they're 60 or 70 when they finally paid off the apartment.
When they're finally like resting, they just, there's no really.
That's terrible. And then your child also pays for that because they know that, oh, you know, when my parents die, I'm going to get this apartment. So they start working. And then I was watching a YouTube video and it said people in Hong Kong, they feel like if they don't get into university, the only jobs that are available to them are cab drivers and then waitresses and waiters, all these like really shitty jobs. I mean, it's only for when you're like at university when you do these like
part-time jobs.
Yeah, part-time jobs. But then it becomes their full-time job when they graduate or when they don't graduate. And that's the fear that they have in their eyes because no one's going to hire, let's say like HSBC, like one of the biggest banks in the world. Let's say, you know, they're not going to hire someone who's a university or college dropout.
Yeah.
Right? They want someone who has a degree. They want someone who has a master's, someone who studied at a good university, abroad or local, you know. So yeah. And the universities are pretty good, which is why there's a lot of competition and it just gets worse from there. It just gets more and more depressing when you think about how these people survive in their small little island, basically. And Mongolians have it great, man. Like people can drop out and be like, you know what, I'm just going to do this. And then they do that and they make money and they live
with that money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
I also feel like Mongolians don't really dream that big. I don't want to phrase it weirdly, but I just feel like it's kind of a like weird wall around, I have to work towards this goal and I have to work really hard. I don't think they have that kind of mindset. Some people. And I think in Asia almost because Korea was like that too. I think people just spend their high school life really, really studying for the test. And then they go to universities. And university is their lifeline. So if they can't get in, they're basically shamed to their family.
Yeah.
In Korea, it's so funny because on the like the SAT days, the day where they take the tests, even like police are outside, no one goes to work, no metros, just no noise. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you go to university, and then you take a loan. You're in debt, but you're still studying. You're still working, and then you graduate, and then you still work. It's just like this kind of almost awful cycle of just working for money that you're never going to get, actually.
Yeah. And also there's so many foreigners in Hong Kong that basically, you know, steal the local people's jobs. And they're like mostly white people. So now they're not just competing against each other. They're competing against these foreign people. Yeah.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, it just gets worse.
Yeah.
You know, the more you like dive deep into it, it just gets worse and worse. But for Mongolians, we don't have a lot of foreign people stealing our jobs. Because if you're in Mongolia, no one's going to learn Mongolian to do like a fucking job, right?
Yeah.
Some people maybe. Oh, sorry. It's kind of hard. But we only have each other to compete against, and there's only like 3.5 million people in Mongolia.
Yeah.
It's relatively easy, and compared to other Asian countries, Mongolia actually ranks higher in terms of their English literacy. So we have a better opportunity to study abroad, or actually we might even have the same opportunity to study abroad compared to all these countries that have millions, hundreds of millions of people. So, you know, 3 million against 100 million, and then one of each country goes to America, let's say, then it's good odds for us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think Mongolia, I mean, they have their hardships, but I think we got it pretty good sometimes when I when I look at it.
We definitely have a lot of hardships.
We definitely do, yeah. So, what would you say the best country in your opinion to be studying? America?
To study?
To study in. What would you say the best country to study? The one that has the best education system?
Well, statistically, Finland. Or some kind of European country, right?
I heard Finland was the most safest country.
Finland was ranked number 1 in their education quality back in up until maybe 2019 or 2020. And then I heard it fell off because, I don't know, really. I did try to do some research into it, but I totally forgot. But yeah, there are a lot of other countries to study in. If you can get into good universities, I feel like Asia is always really good. Like, you have Tsinghua University, then you have the national universities in Singapore, then you have Hong Kong, you have Korea, you have Japan, you know, all these countries. I mean, I I think it really depends on what you want to do and where you want to live. Because if you go to Europe and study, you're probably going to stay in Europe. If you go to Japan and study, you're probably going to stay in Japan. Right? So...
Oh, yeah. I wanted to ask your opinion about that. What do you think about people going abroad to study and then getting a citizenship there and then just living there?
I think it's a great idea.
You think it's a great idea?
Yeah. I used to think it was a terrible idea because I thought people need to come back. And then I realized Mongolia is a crappy country as well. If you can find a better life abroad, then why stay, you know? Because if you want to do it, then you can. And if you can do it, then you should. But whether you should or not is not dependent on my opinion or your or other people's opinion. It's really your opinion. And out of 3.5 million people, how many of us are really realistically going to go abroad and live there? How many of us actually want to do that? And how many of us are actually going to do that? So if you think about that, we're still going to have a significantly large proportion of Mongolians staying in Mongolia and working in Mongolia. And that's fine. I definitely want to retire in Mongolia because I do love the countryside and I love, just being around. It's my comfort zone, as we talked before.
Yeah.
But some people want to go to Germany and France or Japan, Korea, America to live there. And that's perfectly fine. It's their decision. If they can, they should. Why not? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But I totally agree with that. I mean, if you can do it and you want to do it, go ahead. No one's stopping you. But I think definitely a lot of students feel guilt sometimes and a lot of pressure going abroad. They're like, oh, my parents or I just, a lot of money is going into this and I should pay them back. I should pay back my country. I should really, invest more in my own country. And I think a lot of people feel that guilt or pressure. So I think that's...
But that'll disappear once you're 25.
Oh. So excited.
Once you're 25, you'll be like, you know what? I actually got to fend for myself because my parents are old now and they're just doing them, They did what they wanted to do and they did what they could. Now it's my time to do that, right? Because up until that point, I guess it is definitely something that people think about. It's definitely something that I thought about. But then there comes a time when you're like, oh, actually, if no one's going to take care of me, well, if my parents are not going to take care of me, I got to take care of myself. Because your parents are now like, 60, 70 years old, and they're just like old and they're trying to survive basically. And they're like, oh, we're old now. Let us relax. That's basically what they're thinking. Let us relax. Let me just go to the countryside and, be chill. And you guys need to make money and fend for yourself now because I'm not going to keep on providing for you. You're 25 years old. Make your own decisions. And then you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll just go to America. And
maybe I'll just take care of myself there.
Yeah.
Maybe I can do it better.
Yeah, that's fine. But when you're 18, all these, thoughts will come into you. And if anyone who's below 25 and disagrees with me, then you're just a kid. Okay? You're too young to understand. Anyone who's above 25 and disagrees with me, then that's just their opinion.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
To each to their own. Yeah. So, okay. Wow, age. I can't wait to turn 25 and think like you.
You don't want to turn 25. Because when you're 25, you're suddenly 28. Oh. And then when you're 28, you're suddenly 35. And then when you're 35, you're suddenly 50.
It just skips. This age just skips.
Yeah. I talk to, obviously, like, everyone around me is around the same age or older. And then they'd be like, oh my God, I'm 40 years old. I can't believe almost yesterday I was 30. And I'm like, what? And then I realized, oh yeah, yesterday I was 25 actually.
So time flies.
Time does fly really, really fast.
Oh, okay.
So don't wait until you're 25.
Okay.
But let 25 come when the time is there, right? When the time comes.
Okay, I'm kind of excited. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
So, since we're on the topic about age, I was thinking, in Hong Kong, do they have the same thing as Korea where it's like age is such a big factor in respect and how you treat people?
Probably, but I didn't interact with the locals that much to know about this.
So did you because I noticed, I think in Korea, I think a lot of Mongolian people know this as well, watching like the Korean stuff. it's very, very strict, the respect policy.
Is it like Japan?
Yeah, almost. You just have to like bow and you can't turn your back on someone. It's like super strict, but I think I didn't hate that much. I was like, oh, I wish we kind of had this in Mongolia, because I know we have a lot of traditions, but it's not about like it's the level of respect you have for even for a stranger. And I think that was just like a really cool thing to see. And I was wondering if it's like common in Asia.
I think in Mongolia, if there was respect coming from the old people, then the young people would respect them as well. Because I feel like just the young and the old, all right? I'm not judging anyone, any specific age group. I'm not an ageist. But I think we all just lack the respect that, you know, we, or Asian countries have.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. I was kind of running out of questions, but it was a really fun time. And I always wonder about if you're working abroad, do you have that like kind of, I think it's different from studying, because from studying, when I was studying, I didn't have that much pressure, because I think I just did what I had to do. And then I wrote down stuff. I would look at stuff and I'd be like, oh, okay, I got it. And then school ends, it's over for me. I'm like, okay, whatever. But when you're working, it's like your whole life is in there, I feel like. Is that it? Because I don't think I've never really
in the job.
Yeah, like I feel like your whole life is in there, and you don't have really much of a free time as you would if you went to school.
No, I mean, I definitely had way more free time than I was paid for. Yeah, it's crazy because I only worked like maybe an hour a day. On average, if you had to average like my whole time working in Hong Kong, it was probably like 40 minutes a day of work.
What were you doing? You were teaching. Oh my God.
It was terrible. But it was really fun.
Sounds really awful there, man. Can you send me the contact number? Oh, God.
Yeah. And I got paid a significant amount compared to Mongolia. But in Hong Kong, it's just like pretty average. And I just spent the money on like, I think I paid 1/5 of my salary on rent. And then everything else was just like, okay, do what you want to do. So I did what I wanted to do.
Okay. Oh, so that's also the part that scares me about going abroad. It's like too much freedom. I feel like that's such a big thing for me too. Connecting to the being alone stuff, like being lonely, that's a downside of it. The good side is like, I have so much freedom.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I don't know what to do with it. I'm like, what if I use it wrong? What if I don't trust myself enough to deal with this? So how did you deal with that?
I think that's where discipline comes in. But it doesn't really matter when you're a kid because you're just having fun most of the time. But let's say you're my age, then it's important to have discipline. I'm not going to be able to party like I'm 20, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to socialize as much like I'm 20. I'll still be social. I'll still party. But I don't think I could do the things that I used to do. So it's important for me. This is just like a reminder to myself as well, like to be disciplined, to do the exercise, to do the dieting, to do whatever thing that, you know, passes the time that is also fun or sociable or whatever. But, you know, when you're a kid, then just occupy yourself with activities.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. One thing that I feel like I'm a very lucky person, actually. Now that I think about it, I was very lucky. I lived in this apartment called Appledorn.
Appledorn?
Yeah. And on the roof, we had a rooftop. So, you know, everyone would live in these small coffin-like rooms, but then there was a common area on the top of the building on the 7th floor or 6th floor where everyone just came because no one wanted to be in their coffin rooms. So everyone just chilled up there. So it was a great way for me to socialize. And it was mostly foreigners. And yeah, so you just sit there and then you say, hey, my name is Temka. I'm from Mongolia. Where are you from? What's your name? And then you just made friends that way. So every night after work, you would go to the rooftop and then just relax there, talk to people. And you would, always have things to talk about and people to talk to. So yeah, I don't know what the situation is like in Korea or America or whatever, any other place. But being part of a community, I think, is the most important thing you can do to keep away from being alone or feeling lonely. Joining a nonprofit organization, or doing a part-time job, volunteering, right? These are definitely some things that people could do. I mean, if I were studying abroad and I lacked the community, I'd probably sign up for something like that. It definitely got me through university because when I was in university, I was part of an organization called Isaac. So I always had people to hang out with apart from my high school and university friends. So it was just like, it just made everything
a bit easier.
Much easier because you had people to talk to.
Yeah. That's the best part about being with people. You have someone to talk to, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was also the same in my case, I think. I think at first I was super weirded out almost. I was like, no one's looking at me right now. This is crazy. And then
I probably thought you were Korean.
Yeah.
People thought I was Chinese or Hong Kong. So it was kind of annoying, but whatever.
Well, I had a lot of fun lying in Korea. I would tell people that I was like mixed. And I would tell people that I was mixed.
Black.
They would believe I'm kidding. I would tell people that I was just like, oh, I'm from America because I was speaking English. I was like, oh yeah, my mom's American, my dad's Korean. And I think doing that, I think I lied to the same person twice, but I like switched my mom and dad.
Yeah.
So they were like, huh? I thought your dad was Korean.
I thought your dad was black.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, wrong guy. Never mind. Yeah, but I think I have my own fun like that as well. Going around, talking to people. So that sounds fun. Honestly, I think Hong Kong, maybe. Would you recommend traveling there or studying there?
I'm actually going to Hong Kong on the 6th of July.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, for like 5 days.
Just to revisit.
Catch up with old friends, party a little bit. I don't go out that much in Mongolia. I don't know why. Maybe it's the fighting thing that's kind of annoying. I don't know. Maybe I should.
Maybe you should start.
But it's just, I mean.
You're going to go and have fun?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's kind of like a personal question for me. Would you recommend like traveling before going to another country to study there? Because for me, I feel like you should have a preview of what you're visiting for like a week, I really wish I had done that when I was in Korea. So would you really recommend it?
I mean, if you can, you should. Although not a lot of people have the opportunity to travel. I mean, there are a lot of people who are like 30, 40 years old, but still have not left Mongolia.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of kids who are 18 years old, compared to their peers, have never been to another country besides China with their family or something. So if the possibility is there, I would definitely recommend it because traveling alone is really depressing, but it does teach you a lot of skills. But traveling with a group is always much more fun while you still kind of get the skills. Traveling definitely is recommended before studying abroad or working abroad.
So if you can, you should.
I agree.
That's a great phrase. I think I'm going to start using it. So I'm almost out of questions, and thank you so much for joining me today. Do you have anything to say to the high schoolers right now that are thinking about going abroad to study?
Yeah, sure. You have a lot of options, especially as a Mongolian. Not just studying abroad. You can always work abroad. You can always study masters abroad. Learning English is definitely a really good advantage for Mongolians because people think Mongolians don't speak English. That's the thing. Every time I go abroad and I meet someone, they're like, "Oh, you're the first Mongolian I met." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's kind of surprising because I think we have a lot of people who speak English and have the ability to travel."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm someone who didn't study abroad, and I feel like I'm fairly doing well in my life. And you have a lot of people who have studied abroad and are also doing fairly well. But you also have the other group of people who did study abroad but didn't really get far, or who did work abroad and then I don't really know a lot of people who worked abroad and then didn't make it. But yeah, you have a lot of options. Try to figure out what yours is and try to stick to it instead of regretting it, because although sometimes I feel like, I kind of missed out on studying abroad, I don't regret making that decision to stay in Mongolia. It was a decision that I made that was a catalyst to how my life is today. So try to look at it from that perspective. There's no pressure. It's really your decision at the end of the day. So just trust your gut and make that decision and don't regret it.
No, thank you for that great advice. For me, I think I kind of say this to a lot of high schoolers that I know personally as well. It's not really the end of the world if you can't go abroad. I think it almost makes the same point as you did. But for me, I also felt like if I don't do this, it's the end of the world. This is it for me. I can't do anything else. And then feeling that is just gonna push you to do more wrong decisions. So just really think it through, be sure about it, and leave no regrets, I guess. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me again. And thank you
very much
to everyone for listening to this. And well, I'll hopefully see you on the next W podcast. Bye.